Hey, I'm Sectors, and welcome to Cyduck Uncompressed, the podcast where we sit down with your favorite Cyduck artists. In this podcast, we'll talk about not only the music, but the creative process and lines of our artists as well. Who knows, maybe we'll have some previews of upcoming music as well. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get right into it. This month, I'll be sitting down with Voidbreak, one of the oldest Cyduck veterans. Over the past year, we've watched him move over from the Hellfire alias to Voidbreak, with a good number of singles that are leading up to Cyduck's most anticipated album yet. So Voidbreak, great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on here, man. It feels good to actually be on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Great to have you here. Very excited to finally get this going. You've been part of the label for an extremely long time, basically since its inception in 2017. But before we get into label talk, let's just talk about your origins as a producer in general. So when did you start producing and why?
I started producing probably around late 2016, early 2017. It actually came from the fact that I actually got into a launch pad very early on in my years because I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos. There's one channel, So Neverable. He used to do like launch pad covers of all these different songs and that kind of stuff, and I love that kind of stuff. So I got a launch pad for myself, and I found out it came with like these programs. Most one of them being FL Studio. So I tinked around in that. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. So, actually like create all these like different sounds and all this kind of shit. I got the launch pad, started making like some weird things, chucking sounds on these little boards here, and just started just pressing around everything. And at the same time, that's when I was really introduced to one of the big electronic labels known big on YouTube nowadays, Monster Cats. One of the first channels that kind of introduced me to all electronic music and all that kind of stuff. But it was a case of listening to all these music, all these songs, get uploaded to the channel during school hours and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yo, what if I could be like this one day? That's kind of how the whole inception of creating music for myself came to, and as well actually, it was when probably pretty close around 6 years now was when Jaws and Pikmin Nerds released stems for their collaboration Get On Up. That was my first foray into like properly like messing with music and that kind of stuff, see what I can make. I would find the original SoundCloud link, but I do not want to because I know how fucking bad it is. But yeah, practically from that, it was just branching off from that and making music making music for the fun of it, making all these weird sounds, trying to create something out of it, and then he branched off to watching YouTube tutorials, downloading like some sample packs, whatnot, messing with sounds, trying to create some simple things. Then it kind of built from that. To then me creating the Hellfire alias, the old alias anyway, and then pushing out beyond my first single on Cyduck. Well, Cyduck back then, Cyduck now, and then just from there, it's kind of branched off to here we are now. I mean, that's a general idea of what it started off anyway, but I digress.
All right, yeah, that was a pretty in-depth explanation. I probably couldn't have come up with that if I was asked. But you mentioned that you released Beyond in 2017 on Cyduck, and just how exactly did you manage to find Cyduck?
It actually came back quite a while ago. I don't even remember. So back my early days of Discord, I was back in the early days anyway, I used to actually run a Monster Cat layout channel, making music, that kind of stuff. And I got contacted by a man I think it was like Skizzles Dark. He said, yo, do you want to join our little family we got going here? So it's this family of different video producers who do all these put these songs out on these different visualizers and all that kind of stuff. He reached out and I joined their little family, make some videos with them for a little bit, whatnot. And there was a small artist in there that jumped to Cyduck, and I decided to go with him. That man was Instigator. If anyone here listening to this podcast knows about Instigator, let's just say you deserve a gold star for being around for that long and dealing with all the petty drama that came with that as well. But he released his I think it was his Eternally EP in 2017 as well, when the label first started picking up. I jumped to that, I listened to the songs, I'm like, hey, this actually wasn't too bad. Right now, listening back, it is terrible, but again, I digress. After he released, I'm like, oh, this is actually cool. This could actually be a chance for me to start small, build a small little fan base, and kind of grow from there. He released his EP. I'm like, oh, I want to follow it up with my own song on the label, which I reckon would be cool. And yeah, that's when Beyond came through.
Awesome, great to hear about that. I didn't really know that you came from Instigator, but very interesting. You've been here a very, very long time, and you've got to listen to a lot of music. There are admittedly some not so great ones, but there are also a lot of great tracks that we've released over the years. Do you have any favorites off the top of your head?
Oh, you're gonna make me go back now, cause some of my favorites are definitely a little bit older now, but the first ones that come to mind straight away definitely have to be Dragons by Kuchop. That one is fantastic banger. Majority of Ark's discography as well, back when he used to make music, that was some good shit. Especially in Inuda, that was just a clean song, man. And I'm pretty sure that was like one of the first songs that ever got uploaded to the label. So that's a throwback for you guys on there. Kinetic as well by Arc is also pretty good as well. There's a lot. The ones on the top of my head at the moment I can fully remember. Eon's also another good one by good old Vexens. I mean, yeah, any of the Arc songs were fantastic. Yeah, I can't remember much of the heart. Yeah, Braveheart as well is another fantastic one. Cosmic by Sadface and Klayeka is another all-time classic. This is another one that's probably is going to be a little bit of a weird opinion. Is Nevada by Lost Cause. That was back then that was a bit of a banger to say the least. Any of the newer stuff that's been released as of late though, Breakthrough by Rife 3 was pretty nuts. And of course got plugged Spacewalk by myself because I adore that song right now. I mean, I do listen to all the songs. They are all fantastic in their own ways. Denomaly has fucking fantastic sound design. So does Arias as well. And we've seen smaller guys like Logeton and all like those small people start to like really grab out, and Tanix as well, really build a presence on the channel. It's good to see all the smaller guys coming with like their own style, their own way of how they present music and get in their own way. And it's good to see how the community kind of responds to it all and that kind of stuff.
Fully agreed. I think that the growth of the community has been great to see over the past years that I've been here. I think the development of the artists has been really, really awesome to watch. We've seen so much development from all the artists on the label.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, like new staples, some artists leaving and going on to like better things, which is always great to see.
Yeah.
You had some really solid picks for favorite tracks. Dragons is just immaculate. Next thing to talk about, for a majority of your time here on the label, you were under the name Hellfire. So we've seen you over the past year change over to Voidbreak. So why exactly did you decide to make the change?
The change honestly comes from that I wasn't really feeling or like working with like the Hellfire name anymore. Like if you think of Hellfire, you think of immediately think of like Hellfire Adventures, like that one future-based song that kind of sounded like Sun Hollow that popped off in the early days. Um, it didn't resonate with me because like back then, like any Hellfire song release was kind of like mid to okay, like mid to good. Good like some of the better songs they produced under that name. There's Change. Northern's End wasn't too bad of another one as well. But yeah, just any of that stuff there was like only like mid to good. There was nothing that really stood out in my discography that made me feel like this was a good project or like a good artist I want to work with kind of thing. But then that comes down to just like I said, I wasn't feeling the name anymore. It wasn't like something that didn't click with anymore. And it's like, look, maybe it's a good time for me to like maybe rebrand it just so I can take a new approach to everything. Because like personally, seeing like what Hellfire did, so like, if you go from like the last song like I made under Hellfire, which would have been Celestia, that was part of the Cyduck and Half Heart projects. Collaboration EP. Like that was an okay song, but like it's been criticized by many people, including myself, that the mixing was way off. And now I was like one of the problem times where like I really went in depth with my own sound design there. It's like really like see what I can do, but yeah, it just couldn't click with it. And I feel like even if I were to keep releasing songs, people are just gonna look at it and go, yeah, but it's Hellfire though. We know he's not good. He's not gonna perform as well. So I guess just from like probably like some personal doubts and a bit of like anxiety about it all. That's I kind of pushed away from the Hellfire brand and renamed myself to Voidbreak, just because like new name, new beginnings kind of thing. And already I've completely proven that a new beginning is good. It has been good for me. I started off with my I Waltz to the Drizzle remix by Josh Young. Yeah, albeit wasn't the best introduction as Voidbreak, but it was a good showcase that I can still work some talents. And then then I come through to drop Spacewalk, drop 007, Sabrynth as well, all access. It's like you can see like the quality and like the way all the songs are made now have just stepped up big time from the old Alias. And I think like it's probably good to kind of start afresh just to really get that. I guess also like a motivation drive, like to start new and try out all these new things. And I think that's what kind of made me want to move away from Hellfire, just because it's just everything that happened in the past as well. That just it wasn't. It kind of felt like a slander to the name and made me feel a little bit more demotivated. To keep going, making music under that name. It's a bit of a long story, a little bit of a twisty turny one as well, but. I just couldn't work with Hellfire anymore, so the name change just came to, I guess, give myself another like boost of life into making music now. And honestly, it's probably the best thing I've done. I don't think I've enjoyed making music as much as I have as of late, and now I'm actually really, really excited for my new album to actually finally release, because I'm actually proud of this album. Like my last two albums on the Hellfire, they were like okay. Actually, pretty bad as well. I overhyped it, but I just can't enjoy it. Now, the Sabrynth album is something I can enjoy. It's something I'm proud to share. I'm proud to show it to my friends, my family. Go, look, I made these tracks. I'm actually proud to show them that I can actually do well in my music. Hellfire, I didn't want to share a lot around too much because it was very just bad music. Now with Voidbreak, I'm proud to share everything and say I made it. Deal with it. I'm good now. I've grown up. I've learned. I've evolved in a way. I've become someone who I wanted to be from the get-go. Yeah, it took me a little bit to get there, but I got there. And now I am. Here I am at Voidbreak.
Yeah, and I bet we're all super proud of you. We have seen like so much development for you, not just the name being changed, but as you mentioned, there's been a very large shift in quality in like the amount of releases you've had. We went from like the very questionable mixing of Celestia to just absolute straight bangers like Spacewalk, Sabrynth, All Access. I've seen just, like nothing but praise for those tracks. It's very, very impressive to see so much development in a short amount of time, and there is a reason why Sabrynth is the most anticipated album on the label, for sure. You briefly mentioned it, like you as Voidbreak, you debuted on the label with your remix of Waltz Through the Drizzle by Josh Young, and that was part of our 4-year anniversary celebration. It definitely had to be a tough one to remix for sure. Being
Oh
that
yeah.
it's in 3/4, it must have been quite the challenge to remix. So how exactly did that go for you?
It was, tough. Trying to transform a song that was already written in 3/4 into like, like a bit of a house bang. I mean, I had different ideas at the start. I think what I originally started off doing was like it feels like I was trying to go for like a dubstep remix, but I couldn't get anything to work with the 3/4 type signature. Um, but honestly, it only went to house thanks to a certain man named Puccio who sent me a link to a song, like a house song that was written in 3/4, and that gave me the that gave me that big inspiration boost to shift it away from what I was originally doing, put it into house. I mean, like the first 3/4 house drop did fall a little bit flat in terms of like sound design and whatnot, but at least I got a flow going, and then I did manage to do the whole morph over into 4/4 to go into like a proper like straight banger, like electro house second drop kind of stuff there. And it definitely was, like I said, a difficult song to remix for sure. But it did push me a lot, but it made me know that yes, like if I did it on the Hellfire, I probably would have struggled to actually do anything clean. Now I was able to do a remix the song from 3/4 morph into 4/4 and make it sound cohesive as it did. I think that was one of the kickers that's really pushed me to go like, look, I can do well. But yeah, it was difficult to say the least. But we got there eventually, and I was pretty proud of the results. I mean, yeah, looking back at it now, a year later, like yeah, I did question my sound design choice, especially in that first drop. But I mean, if I were ever to VIP it, I know like ways I can make it sound interesting again, even more interesting, even more headbanging for the second drop, if you know what I mean. But tough remix, but I was proud of the results though. I was going to give credit to Josh though, because he's a fantastic producer, man. And honestly, I was blessed to do the remix for him. So I got to give the thanks to Josh as well for creating a hard song for me to top off.
Yeah, that's fair. I can say from my personal experience remixing the same track, it was hard. I lost a lot of motivation to finish that remix, but I eventually pulled through. And I would agree with like how you feel about your own remix. I don't feel it's my best work because it really was a challenge to remix. But I think that you did pull it off pretty well. The first drop, the sound design you said maybe a bit weak, but I think the second drop makes up for it. And it was a very impressive remix considering you took the original 3/4 track that wasn't even like 2 minutes long, and you managed to extend it into like a nice house track in the first half, and then like a banger in the second half. I think it went pretty well. Might not be your best, but I think it was a very good display of like the talent that you do have. Now that we're done talking about that, everything that you've released since then has been a single to your Sabrynth album that which we've been discussing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more of a big question, but what was the process of creating this album like?
The process, because originally I wanted to start off this like album as an EP, like a Sabrynth. That's the Sabrynth EP. It would have been 6 tracks, and that would have highlighted. I put the sticky note here that will tell me. See, it would have been Spacewalk, 007, Sabrynth, All Access, and then the other two would have been which is on the album as well, System Failure, and I can't remember the name, but it would have been a different vocalist. And right now this one is Flesh and Blood. It would have been a 6-track album, but I'm like, I was like rolling through the whole sound production between some of these songs, and I decided, crap, like this actually is turning out really good. And riding that kind of momentum, I kind of branched out, started doing a little bit more different things, and that's when I got collaborations done with Irie Arts and Frontier. We got Quest. Quest reached out. We did Isolation together as well. We had our collab. We had as well. Like, hey, let's put down the album as well. Why not? We'll get it finished. We'll polish it off. And and it kept going a little bit from that as well. Yeah, it kept branching out. It kind of kept evolving as time went on. I did try to go a little bit too extreme, but that comes in the future when the deluxe version of this album drops, possibly sometime next year. We'll see what happens though. Can't guarantee anything just yet, but there are a few ideas that we can do in the near future. It's either going to be a deluxe version of Sabrynth, or it's going to be a complete different album entirely. But I already got a couple of ideas to release in the near future. Whether or not we do an EP, LP, or make it a Sabrynth extended alongside some remixes, which I know quite a few people want to do as well. Excited to see where that goes, but yeah, the process of the album just kind of kept evolving from small EP to adding more tracks to adding even more tracks. We could have had a 13-track album if the Lamb Sauce would have been able to go on stores, but we let that slide as an April Fool's joke. I still find that an ironic banger to today. Anyway, it's funny.
Yeah, that one for sure is funny, but it does go like mad hard. The Sabrynth album, it's really good. I think it is one of, if not like the best albums on the entire label. Denominally, Outcast album's also up there because that one's got nutty sound design.
I can't compare myself to Denominally. His sound design is just off the charts though. I got nothing compared to him, man. He is a fucking wizard at that shit, man.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see that you've got more IDs for like a Sabrynth Deluxe. I mean, being staff, I know kind of what goes on, and we've definitely discussed like the idea of remixes. I know there's some remixes being made for it, but a deluxe album with more like tracks from you sounds very, very enticing. You touched on some of the collaborations. There's 5 of them on the album: 007 with Lost Cause, Flesh and Blood with Nelox, Void Sectors with myself, Frontier with Irie Arts, and Isolation with Quest. So that's a pretty sizable amount of collabs on the album. compared to solo tracks. So how easy was it to manage all these collaborations? Like, were there any issues of blending the styles together, or was it more of like a clean process?
Some of them were clean, some of them were a little bit rough. Double O 007 with Lost Cause was a pretty easy one to manage anyway, because that was kind of made in that transitional period when I was still going from FL to Ableton, so we were able to just bounce the FL project back and forth between each other. I mean, yeah, nowadays I work on Ableton now, but yeah, doing like the remastering process of Double O 007 through Ableton was a little bit annoying with the stems, but that one was pretty cleaned up anyway, as the moment it was done. Um, Trying to think. The other collabs, I mean, like Flesh and Blood was already just I made the beats and then Neil sent me vocals and then I had to mix them in. So out of all the collabs, Flesh and Blood was definitely the easiest one to work with, for sure. Probably the hardest one out of them would have been Isolation. Just purely for the fact that it is written in a irregular time signature, written in 7/4, and so it's working with that plus alongside a crap ton of stems here. Like, because I'll give Quest credit as well. He loves to go like in depth with his pads and all that kind of stuff. So he's got some good sound design when it comes to his atmospheres and all that stuff. So yeah, work with like 3 different pad layers and some atmos layers and all these different drums and basses and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it gets messy pretty quickly, but once you get once you get like a good hold of it, it started to get pretty easy following up and adding on to it, adding all these different ideas. I mean, I honestly want to say that I think the clash of styles or like the mixing of styles anyway, did work out pretty well on some of these tracks. I know one especially is Frontier with Ari. I know Ari also likes to go like nuts, like these trippy sound designs and all that kind of stuff, all these different bleeps and bloops that he likes to throw it everywhere on his drops and that kind of stuff. I reckon we managed to pair that pretty well with like more like something like Atmos as well, like intros and that kind of stuff. So like good good aggressive respaces, all these different pads and all this kind of stuff. So it's good to see we can make things sound a little coherent and kind of flow together to one another. You definitely see a lot better in Isolation IMO. And even Void Sector as well, because I know, because we started this collab like quite a while ago. Because I'm pretty sure we were aiming this collab to be for. You got to remind me here. Because we started this collab together, but I can't remember what it was for.
I can tell you what it was for. Back in, it was really just like a year ago or so, maybe a year or two. I had some collaborations, and I was thinking of maybe just doing like an EP full of collaborations, and that would have included Jaguar with Ormy, Sentimentality with Neutrino, and Iris with Lost Cause, which is on HB Media. So I was like, hey, we could, if you want to do this for like this collab EP, that'd be pretty great. Oh yeah, and also like the Neelux collab that I have that I still haven't released. But I was like, yeah, I was thinking of doing that as like a collab EP, and we started working on it. And as things progressed, like I had submitted Sentimentality. It was out at the beginning of 2021. Months had passed, and it's just like it wasn't near done at all. So I decided it would be pointless to just drag out the EP for like a year or two, and just I decided to abandon that and just release everything separately because the whole EP strategy didn't really make sense anymore. But I'm glad we still got to keep the collaboration, and I think that one is a pretty interesting mix of styles.
Oh, for sure.
Like the second drop is like melodic dubstep. It's got the signature sectors square pluck arp. I do that like basically every track.
Yes, you do.
But
You sure do,
yes,
brother.
I did. It's just kind of interesting because I feel like if you were to listen to this track, you'd be like, okay, yeah, Sectors worked more on like the melodic section because he does more like the melodic music. But in reality, I had not like fleshed out like most of the first half of the track. That was my main focus. I started off with like the intro and like the first side trance drop. And you definitely refined it. You did a lot of the work. I got to be real with you, but you did a great job refining everything. And it's just kind of interesting to see that the half that you made kind of seemed like I would have made it, and that you would have made like the darker section. It's just kind of interesting to see how I feel like the styles kind of flipped. All the other collabs worked pretty well too. I mean, Flesh and Blood, obviously, I felt like that was going to be the easiest. It's just a Neelox feature.
Yeah.
So naturally, it's just you had it already. Frontier is that one. kind of crazy, but that's just kind of naturally what Ivory brings to the table.
Oh yeah.
Just crazy sound design. I think that one worked wonderfully, especially the second drop. That one, that goes hard. And Isolation too. That the weird time signature. It's a really long track. It's the longest track on the album.
Yeah, 6.5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like so atmospheric. Quest does like such a great job with all the atmosphere that he puts in his tracks. It's just amazing to see like that blend with like your heavier style because we've seen Quest do drum and bass before with Adam, and that one definitely left like more to be desired. I feel, especially the mixing. But Isolation, I mean, granted, Quest has developed a lot in the past year.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Yeah, working with you on Isolation, though, I feel like it's just a really good piece of art. Really, it's just a wonderfully atmospheric, intense, like in the drops. It works really well. The styles blend extremely well, and it feels very clean. But yeah, now that we've gone over like the process of creating the album, talking about the collaborations, this might be a hard question for you or easy. I'm not really sure. But what's your personal favorite from the album?
I had a feeling you're going to ask me this kind of question, and honestly, I could not tell you. There's no easy option for me to choose because I fucking adore all the tracks on here. Like I again, like I said before, I'm proud of everything I've done with this album, like of everything I've created so far. Like again, it's like a good combination of like what 5 years of experience has kind of taught me, and this is it. It's like it is full combination of what I've done. Um, but yeah, I couldn't tell you what would be my favorite. I mean, definitely up there for sure is going to be Isolation, um, Frontier, Spacewalk, Sabrynth as well. Like those four are going to be in the top ranks for like my favorites from the album. Again, I love everything else. I love the rest of the album on there as well. Like again, it's hard to pick an easy one. It's hard to choose a favorites for sure. But I'll flip the question back to you though. Take out our collaboration. What's your favorite from the album?
I think I gotta go with Flesh and Blood. That one is extremely clean. Nilo has like a great performance. The lyrics are kind of funny, like with the stuff producers would understand, but not like general people when he talks and like oh I don't like the plugins that he uses. I thought that was pretty great because you don't really see like lyrics like that anywhere. So I thought that was a really nice change of pace, and just the production is so clean. And if I recall correctly, you did have like a one-on-one session with Slippy to go over that one, right?
Yeah, I did. So okay, so it wasn't Flesh and Blood that I ran over with Slippy. It was Frontier actually. So Slippy actually gave me some some touch up pointers with Frontier, and like making sure everything kind of flows smoothly. So like if I would compare like because I got render versions of Frontier like before Slippy and after Slippy, and you can tell there's like a few differences of like the choice of percussion, some of the drum fills as well, how some of the sounds are kind of panned out and leveled out. Second drop for sure as well. He had a bit of influence as well because originally like the fake out would have gone for like a bar and a half, and he said like that's too long, so you got to try and shorten it back a little bit. So at least when you feel anticipation build up, it kind of hits you faster and makes you feel like it hits you, and you can get into it quicker instead of like feeling like the first like the first A section is too short after that big fake out and then go straight into your B section before looping around again. Making sure, like the A section a little more time to flesh out and breathe, kind of make that a bit more impactful. That's what Slippy kind of helps in moving the track to be a little more full to its potential. So it really, is something you can play at club like underground clubs, or you hear it on like main stages somewhere. You watch the crowds go fucking nuts over 120 trap.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I definitely can see like improvement because I remember you originally submitted the album as more of a work in progress, and you updated the tracks as time went on. But I remember at the time of submission, Frontier was only like halfway finished. It was
Yeah.
only the first drop, and I really liked the idea. And then after like it was finished, the second drop blew me away for sure. I feel like it's very strong. It's one of the strongest tracks on the entire album. But yeah, that's really about all I have. I'm really glad I got to sit down and talk with you. Are there any last things you'd like to say before we end this?
Not a lot. I mean, of course, thank you for letting me join the podcast here. Um, Although I will say probably now I apologize if I do sound a little bit echoey. During the whole build to the album process, I have moved out of home now, and we're in the process of getting things set up. And just to say, there's a lot of tiles and empty rooms, so sound is just bouncing off the walls like mad, and even I can hear with my headphones on, and it is tripping me out. So I do apologize if my audio is a little bit echoey, but not much I can do about it. I only just moved it like 2 days ago. um, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for letting me on the podcast. Thanks for letting me, I guess, tell my story so all the listeners can actually get a better understanding of me and who I am. And yeah, I'm excited for the album to drop, and I can't wait to hear how everyone thinks about it.
Well, we're very glad to have you on the show. Very great to learn more about you. I mean, being friends for a couple years now, it's very nice to learn more about like your origins as a producer, learn more about the creative process of the album. We are super excited to interview more artists in the future, and we hope you'll be listening. Huge thanks to Voidbreak for being on the show, and make sure to show him some love and stream his debut album, Sabrynth.
Thanks for listening, guys.